The UK's new Prime Minister, Liz Truss, has gone head-to-head with the Leader of the Opposition, Keir Starmer, at her first Prime Minister's questions as Leader of the country. Now, behind her was her new cabinet, the most diverse in history, with no white men in prominent roles. It follows her first speech as Prime Minister, in which Liz Truss promised that the UK would, quote, ride out the storm, and promised a raft of measures to boost growth. Well, reporting on Liz Truss's first Prime Minister's questions is Tig Enright in Westminster there in London. Tig, are we any clearer after that session of understanding what Liz Truss's first acts as Prime Minister will actually be?
Well, yes, you're right to point out the fact that she's been busy filling her cabinet ahead of this first session of Prime Minister's questions, and her team have been highlighting that diversity has been a priority for her in picking individuals for those roles. As you say, none of the so-called Big Four jobs, such as Home Affairs or Finance, have gone to a white man this time around. But there have been some questions, though, about her approach to party unity within the Conservatives, considering she hasn't nominated any allies of her final challenger for the leadership, Rishi Sunak, to a top job. But at Prime Minister's questions, she certainly made clear that she sees the clear and present danger to the UK's economy and society right now is the energy crisis, and she pointed out that her first major announcement tomorrow will be a plan to help households and businesses get through the winter. We expect that to include a price freeze. And I think it was notable, though, that in this first encounter with the Leader of the Opposition, she suggested to Keir Starmer that she wanted to work constructively with the Labour Party, and she praised its role, its support for the Ukraine in its conflict with Russia. It is, of course, easy, some might say expected, for a new Prime Minister to suggest this, and as we say over here, the proof of whether that relationship will be constructive will be in the pudding.
Well, the proof will be in the pudding, and we'll look forward to hearing more about that pudding, as you say, tomorrow. I guess the question is then, what was the reaction specifically from the opposition with regards to what she had to say?
Well, the two main opposition parties here, Labour and the Scottish National Party, very much went to the jugular on her energy plan, which is, no matter how welcome some kind of plan is to help households through the winter, who is going to pay for it? Because the expected upfront cost is going to be well north of £100 billion. And one thing that Liz Truss has made clear again today and throughout her campaign was that she will not put any additional taxes on the profits of energy companies, the people who are making big profits at this time of crisis. Indeed, Keir Starmer, in his questions to the new Prime Minister, pointed out that energy companies are expected to make an excess of £170 billion in profits over the next 2 years, and asking why it's ordinary people who will be expected to pay for this plan in the long term and not those companies. And that's where we got into a bit of what you might call politics as usual. Labour suggesting that no matter whether there's a new leader at the top of the Conservative Party, it is the same old Conservative priorities of cutting taxes for the rich at the expense of poorer people. And Truss's retort is to say that it's typical for Labour to think that higher taxes are a solution to everything. So it really does go to show that you can have new leadership, but politics stays pretty much the same.